Welcome back. Today we're discussing Chapter 3, Lesson 1, Graphing Relationships. So the objective for today is to match simple graphs with situations and then graph a relationship. All right, so graphs can actually be used to illustrate many different situations. For example, trends shown on a cardiograph can help a doctor see how a patient's heart is functioning. To relate a graph to a given situation, use keywords in the description. So we're going to look at some different examples and try to identify what some of those keywords are. So let's start with example 1, relating graphs to situations. This says each day several leaves fall from a tree. One day, a gust of wind blows off many tree leaves. Eventually, there are no more leaves on the tree. Choose the graph that best represents the situation. Okay, so we have graph A, graph B, and graph C. So let's go ahead and look at the X and Y axis and see how they're labeled to know what we're dealing with. So we're dealing with time, right? And then there's leaves, and there's the amount of leaves. So this would represent right here at the origin 0 time, and the further we get away down the x-axis, the more time there is, right? And the leaves here, at this, there would be no leaves, but as we move up, there are more and more leaves on that tree, okay? So we're talking about leaves and we're talking about time. So let's go ahead and highlight the key pieces of information in this particular application. So it says each day several leaves fall from a tree. Okay, each day several leaves fall from a tree. Okay, I think what that would mean is that we have all the leaves on the tree, right? And then, so that's kind of like the maximum amount of trees that there are. You got all the leaves on there, and then what's happening is a couple leaves at a time, the amount of leaves is starting to fall, all right? And then it says, one day, a gust of wind blows off many leaves. Okay, so a gust of wind blows off many trees. So here what's happening is there's a few dropping off each day, right? But then a whole bunch drop off all of a sudden, okay? So that means that the amount of leaves will go down suddenly, all right? And lastly, it says eventually there are no more leaves on the tree. So all of the leaves are gone. So that makes us know that that y-axis at the end is going to equal 0. Eventually, there's no more leaves on the tree. Okay, so let's look at these. This first information says each day several leaves fall off the tree. What I know is that my maximum amount of leaves is going to be at the beginning when there's 0 time. So here is where time is 0, and I should have the maximum amount of leaves. Okay, that is not the case here. This means that the amount of leaves over time is growing, and there's nothing growing. It's not like I have 20 leaves and then the next day I have 22. You're not adding more leaves to the tree. The leaves are falling off. Okay, so we know that this is definitely not the graph. Up here, this is the maximum amount of leaves. So we know that we're okay here, and it's dwindling, which that makes sense. Here, we're also at the maximum amount of leaves at the beginning, right? All of these other values are all less than this, okay? So this is the max. This is the same. This is the maximum amount, and all of these other values are going to be less than whatever this is, right? So far, these go with the scenario. So it's going down at a constant rate, and then what happens? A gust of wind blows off many leaves, and the amount goes down very rapidly. So we're at the biggest amount, okay, a couple leaves growing off, and then this looks like that could be that big gust of wind that knocks down off a bunch of leaves all in one time. Let's go ahead and look at this. This is our max. The leaves are dwindling, and then what happens? The amount of leaves stays the same over time as time passes. Well, that's not what happened, right? So I don't think this is it. So we have our maximum amount every day, a few more leaves, they fall, and then there's a gust of wind, and then eventually there are no more leaves on the tree. That just means eventually over time the leaves keep falling off until the leaf amount is 0. So for this, choose the graph that best represents the situation. It would be graph B. All right, now it is your turn, ladies and gentlemen, to check it out for example 1. Here's my friend the pause dragon. Go ahead and work this problem out. When you get done, press play and we'll go over the answer together. All right, we're back. Let's see how you did. So this says the air temperature increased steadily for several hours and then remained constant. At the end of the day, the temperature increased slightly before dropping sharply. Choose the graph that best represents the situation. So let's go ahead and highlight the key information first. It says the air temperature increased steadily for several hours. Okay. And then what happened? And then it remained constant. The temperature remained constant. At the end of the day, the temperature increased slightly before dropping sharply. All right, so there's actually 4 things happening with this temperature. There's a lot going on. So what do we have here? We have time and we have the temperature, right? This is a low temperature, this is a high temperature. So this first part of information tells us the air temperature increased steadily for several hours. For it to increase, it means it had to be at an amount and then get bigger. So we're looking for that. We are at an amount. Did it get bigger? Did it increase? That's not what this is showing. This is showing that we are starting with amount and it's staying the same for a while over time. Okay, so what about B? We started as amount. It says increase steadily. Is the temperature increasing steadily? No, it's remaining constant. Okay, so let's look at graph C. The air temperature increased steadily for several hours. Yes, that's what this shows. The temperature increasing for several hours. Then it says, then it remained constant. Well, yeah, here we go. The temperature is remaining constant. And then at the end of the day, the temperature increased slightly. So yes, the temperature gets a little bit more before dropping sharply. And yes, that is a very, very sharp drop. So for this one, our answer would be graph C. So if you got that one right, awesome job. We will see you next in a little bit for example 2.